When our clients come to us complaining around some sort of team performance issue, it normally goes something like this. I am so frustrated because my team is good, but they're just not great. And I wish that my team could just think for themselves and could have their own ideas and could answer their own questions and just be critical thinkers and be problem solvers, right? And when I ask my client, well, why do you think that's happening? The number one response I get back is, well, Jana, I just don't have A players. I just have B and C players. They're just underperformers. And if I just had better people, all my team problems would go away. And I am here to give you, with the most love and the most respect, I call bullshit. I call bullshit on the I just don't have A players because I have personally transformed teams of B and C players into absolute rock stars. I myself have been a B player. Like, I will share this story with you. I had a office job for 2 whole months. I watched Netflix on the side all day, every day, and did an absolute garbage job. I was the definition of a B player. And yet, when you put me in a different company, I leveled up so fast, I was an A player like you wouldn't believe. So B and C players is not a death sentence. It's not something that someone is. It's how someone is showing up. And I genuinely, profoundly believe that you can take a B and C player and level them up, turn them into an A player and extract and invite the highest level of performance possible out of them. And that is amazing news because it is so much easier and cheaper to level somebody up than to go out and spend a bunch of money on a bunch of A players only to have them also then disappoint you. So in this video, I want to share my top best practices around how do we transform underperformers? How do we take our existing team of just barely good enough people and turn them into an absolute dream team of A players that we want and that we believe we deserve, right? Good news, bad news for you. The good news is that it's easy, it's free, and it all comes back to you. The bad news is it all comes back to you. Because the truth is that a B player isn't a B player because of who they are. They are a B player because they're working under a B player coach. That's the harsh reality of it. If we want all-star teams, we have to be all-star leaders. And if you're looking across your team right now and just seeing persistent underperformance, I promise you, there is something in your own leadership that is creating that result within your team. And again, that's good news because you can change. You can change yourself tomorrow. You can watch this video. You can apply these best practices and you can become a better and different leader that all of a sudden will unlock higher levels of performance out of your team. So let me give you the set of steps that I personally had to go through to go from a, let's be honest, just okay leader to a leader that I genuinely believe gets the highest levels of performance out of the people that I manage. A players, any A players, even if they're disguised as B or C players, needs exactly 3 things. The first thing they need is a definition of success. Here's how I put it, guys. No one can run a race if you don't tell them where the finish line is. I don't care how talented that athlete is. I don't care how many Olympic medals they have. If you put Usain Bolt at a starting line and you said, run the race, but you didn't tell him where the finish line is, he will be just as lost and confused and slow as anybody else, right? So the first thing that our A players need in order to exceed, to run, to grow, to achieve is a definition of success, is a finish line. Because until I know what success looks like, I can't chase it. Until I know where I have room for growth, I can't grow in that direction. Until I know what you want, I can't give it to you. Right? So the very first thing that we as leaders need to understand is that our team wants to do their best for us. We maybe just haven't told them what the best actually means or looks like. And that comes down to the individual role. Individual roles need to understand, what does success in my role mean? Because success in a salesperson role, an A player salesperson, looks totally freaking different than an A player client success manager. So my question back to you is, have you defined success? Have you defined an A player in every single role of your business? And have you given that definition to your team? Because no all-star can run a race if you don't tell them where the finish line is. That's number one. If you need a tool, if you need some tactics and best practices around any of this, guys, please reach out to me and my team so we can help you out. Best practice number two, they need to want it. The reality is that when I was working at that office administrative job, I was perfectly content watching Netflix for hours every single day because I frankly didn't care. I didn't care about that business. I didn't care about that team. I didn't care because there was nothing to care about. It was a pretty dead-end job, right? Versus an A player wants to show up and be at their best. An A player wants to grow. An A player wants to get better. And so they'll think about the job on the weekend and they will read books and listen to podcasts, not because you force them to, but because they want it. That want, that internal drive is what we call intrinsic motivation. And again, way bigger topic than what I have time to dive into with you today. But the key to you as a leader is to focus on unlocking the intrinsic motivation within your team, because you can't force someone to be excellent. You can't force someone to listen to podcasts on the weekend. You can't force someone to come up with incredible, groundbreaking ideas. That has to come from within them. And so the more internal drive, the more internal motivation you can create within your team and within your company, the better the results you will be. And all of a sudden, your B and C players will start coming to the table with ideas. Will start investing in going through courses and listening to YouTube channels and doing and leveling up because they want it. They want to. And right now, if you're not seeing that from your team, it's because they don't want to. And that's on us as leaders. And then number three. So we've got number one, hang on, I'm remembering right now. Number one is the definition of success. Where is the finish line? What does an A player look like in my role? Number two is intrinsic motivation. Am I in an environment where I want to do well? And then number three is ownership. Ownership is the single most powerful. Like of the three, this is the most powerful when it comes to instantaneously leveling up the performance of your team. Because if I don't own something, then what do I care, right? Like if my job is to just show up, knock out a couple of tasks, knock out a couple of SOPs, and then close my laptop at the end of the day and go get beers with my friends, what do I care? What do I care if it's great versus good? Good enough is good enough. I probably don't need to put in any more work past that. Versus if it's mine, if I own it, if I am responsible for my own outcomes, if I own my own results, if I feel a personal sense of ownership for this role, well, then it's mine. I take pride in it. I show up for it. I think about it at 3 a.m. when I can't sleep. I do my research into how to do it better on the weekends because it's mine and I want it to be incredible. So guys, ownership is really powerful because what people own, they take pride in. They're bought in on, they're engaged with, they lean in for. So the question is, does your team truly and genuinely feel like they own their role? Do they truly and genuinely feel like they own the definition of success that you've given them? Do they own the results? Do they own the wins? And do they also own the failures, the mistakes, the challenges, the level ups? Because what somebody owns, they will show up for. And if right now your team can easily close the computer at the end of the day and not think about work again, I promise you, they don't feel the level of ownership that they need to. So when we as leaders can master how to create these three things in our team, number one, a definition of success for every role that we then, jumping around here, number three, transfer ownership completely to them and then back it up with intrinsic drive and motivation. I promise you, you take any B or C player and you put them in that environment and they will shock you. They will level up so fast like you couldn't believe. And the number one piece of feedback I get from our clients when we take them step by step through this process is, John, where the fuck was this? Are these the same people? I literally had a client this week tell me, it's been 2 weeks since we started working with you. And it literally, I don't even recognize my team. It feels like I am managing a team of entirely different people. So guys, the good news that I have for you is that if you have B and C players right now, there's something you can do about that. you can turn them into A players. The good news that I have for you is that it entirely comes down to you and how you lead. And the good news that I have for you is that there is an exact set of steps to achieve these three things within your team environment to immediately start leveling up their performance across the board. If you have any questions or you want our support in implementing this within your team and immediately starting to level up your team's performance, book a call with Team Spyglass. We would love to talk you through the specific performance gaps you're seeing and exactly what to do about it to start to level them up. Good luck.